Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
So music festivals, highlighting multiple artists at a single event, are kind of all the rage these days if you're not paying attention. And Lansing's college radio station, Impact 89 FM, referred to the latest installment of the show we're about to discuss as, quote, a collection of talent sought to destroy the boundaries of genre, to make a new statement on the beauty of local music, and to testify to the joy and benefits of artistic collaboration. That intrigued me enough to have this discussion that we're going to talk about the Amalgamation Project II with drummer and show promoter, Mr. Bryan Knickerbocker. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I know it's a long intro, but I'll tell you what, that quote, and that was, I think, the quote about the show that you've already done. I mentioned that this is the project number 2, but that was just so kick-ass. I just felt like I had to kind of lead that into the intro because that tees you up to hear what's going to become.
Listen, I have that bookmarked on my phone, and I'll go back. I go back and read it. Mike Marriott, the guy that introduced us to each other, he's told me a couple of times. He goes, "That is one of the best reviews of a show that I've ever done." Period. And I used to work in New York. He always likes to throw that he used to work in New York.
Yes, he did. So let's start off by talking about your musical journey. Kind of how did you start? Where did you take it? And kind of where are you today?
I was always like a pots and pans kid. From what I'm told by my parents. I've always loved music. I did band up until 8th grade. I just kind of wanted to realize that that was what I was good at, and I started getting into drums. My dad got me into Kiss. I'm a huge Kiss fan. Peter Criss is definitely one of my biggest influences as a drummer.
Yep.
And I got rolling on that, and about my freshman year in high school, I finally got my first drum set and started getting in bands in high school, and had to take some time off because I have children, and I had to do the family thing. About 2019, I joined a band called Two-Face Wilson. They're a blues band, and it was a good buddy of mine that asked me to do it, and I ended up staying on for about 2 years, and I made a bunch of connections. My wife and I did concert photography intermittently throughout that, so I made more connections through that, and just kind of snowballed from there to being able to know enough people to pull off a show like this.
Right. So let's talk about that. So Amalgamation Project 1 has already occurred. Mm-hmm. How did the concept of you promoting and kind of creating a show? I mean, it's all I can imagine doing is just being good enough in an instrument to find a bunch of guys that I fit in with to go play a show, but it's got to be a whole different strata of engagement and logistics to try to put on a show with a bunch of other people. Yeah. How'd that start?
The story that I tell about how I got this whole idea in the first place is there was a festival somewhere around here that they shut off a whole part of Washington to do a bunch of performance and have food trucks and stuff like that. And I had just joined up with Opportunity Arts, and Mike was like, "Hey, we're doing a thing down here. Come meet some of these other affiliates of this program." And I was like, cool, more connections, right? Here we go. Right. So I meet a guy named Stefano Andreotti. He's an opera singer,
yes.
Good friend of mine.
Okay.
And there was another, and I started talking to him, and then I met this guy named Tongue Effects. He's a beatboxer from the area. And he told me, I was thinking about doing, like, Stefano and I were talking about doing a version of Ave Maria, but with beatboxing behind it, like just mixing our styles together. And I'm like, man, that's really cool. And I ended up meeting a couple other people and hanging out. But like as I'm walking away, that just thought was in my head. I'm like, what if I do that, but with a bunch of people?
Right.
Because I like a bunch of different genres and styles. I present as a rock and metal guy, which I definitely am, but a lot of people don't know that one of my dream gigs is to play for Shania Twain. I saw her at the Palace when I was younger, and I loved it.
Yep.
And I just kind of wanted a way to, bring all of my connections together, have them make more connections, because the, local scene tends to be a bit fractured at times with infighting and stuff like that. So I was like, let's just all get together for a common purpose, and luckily, it worked.
So when was Amalgamation Project 1?
It was August 24th of 2023.
Got it.
Yeah.
And where was it?
It was at the Diesel Concert Lounge in Chesterfield, New Baltimore. it's like north of Detroit-ish.
Okay. And what did that lineup look like? Was it beatboxing behind opera?
It was they both participated. It was a lot more rock centered, just because that's a lot of the people that I know were in rock and metal bands, so I was able to pull a lot from that. But Stefano ended up working with a guy named Johnny Neville from a band Elsie Binks, and they did this really cool symphonic rock song together. Tongue Effects did a song with a buddy of mine, Tim, from Fatal Conceit, and he played acoustic guitar. Fatal Conceit's a metal band, so like they even took it even further, and they did a cool thing together. The lineup from last year is, I would say, at least 60% of what 60 to 80% of what the lineup is this year. A lot of people came back.
Okay.
But it was very, very good, very fun. A lot of people in the same friend group, so we were all able to kind of hang out together.
Well, they talk about music's the universal language, and people tend to be kind of forgiving of straying from the norm, right? I mean, you look at Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, is certainly not what you would consider a normal song, and has obviously stood the test of time. You look at Run DMC and Aerosmith doing Walk This Way in the 80s.
Yes.
And that kind of blew my mind as when I was that age, hearing that come out, I'm like, whoa, that does sound like a rap. And if you listen to the interviews with Run DMC, they heard that and they're like, this sounds like a rap, and rap was still being formed at the time. And so for them to collaborate on that. So that fusion thing certainly isn't new. You do have like country crossover, and guest artists, Uncle Cracker singing with, so you get these people. So, beatboxing under opera, is fantastic. And I just love the concept of this. So, were the artists skeptical about fusing up with people that are in a different genre, or is that acceptance kind of in the arts?
So a lot of what made last year successful was the fact that they were all kind of friends, and like I said, it was mostly rock centered overall. Not too many odd curveballs other than that symphonic rock song, but that was kind of what I was expecting. I mean, come on. I don't really think I had to convince anybody. I think there were a couple of people that were like, tell me who you were thinking of pairing me with, or give me the list of people that are participating so I can choose somebody. And I was forgiving of that, because like I said, I was happy that anybody was willing to do it, because, it's ironic as I sit here and do press for year 2, because one of the things I was dreading was trying to explain this every single time, because it's a mouthful. I still have yet to come up with a concise description of what the show is to begin with. But no, I don't think, like I said, nobody really strayed too far out of where their comfort zone was, but they were still kind of like dipping their toes in, and like kind of was more of a combining of styles than finding a new one. So it worked out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I joke about that, trying to find the right words. You hear about an elevator pitch.
Yeah.
You should be able to tell someone on an elevator. I call it more of an escalator pitch. It's a little bit slower to get there. It takes a little longer.
We got to go to the Sears Tower and go all the way up to the restaurant at the top, and I'll have everything explained in that.
Got it. Well, I want to pause for a second, talk about another creative, the Good Marketing Agency. Here at Michigan Reimagined, we tell the stories of passionate Michiganders doing great things across our state. Today's podcast sponsor takes the art of positive storytelling to a whole new level. The people at Good Marketing work with organizations across the state that are having a positive impact on the lives of Michigan residents. They help educate communities on the importance of affordable housing, the impact of wildlife and natural resource management, the availability of workforce development and education programs. If it lifts people up and makes the community stronger, then they want to help tell and spread the word. If your organization needs that type of help communicating the good work that you do, stop by their website at goodmarketing.com. That's GUD marketing.com. So you have Amalgamation Project 1. You've got this roster of people that already kind of know each other. You're pairing people up and all that stuff. How the heck do you pick a date, pick a venue, and then, you don't need to get too deep into it, but like, how do the economics work? I mean, obviously, do the bands make money on this, or is it just kind of more exposure? Does the venue want to make money on this? Are you trying to make money on this? I mean, I'm sure that's the long-term goal for everyone.
To make money.
Yeah, right. But how did that work in your first foray?
Picking the venue for something like this, with how much planning goes into it. So, for example, for this year, I had the venue and the roster done December of last year.
Okay.
So we need it because the pairs, I tell everybody this, just at your own leisure. You got 8-9 months, however long it may be, to write one song. Like that's all you got to do. I know you have lives. A lot of these people have other projects that they're a part of, sometimes multiple other projects they're a part of, and you need time to do it. And I don't expect everybody to drop everything and do my thing, as much as I would love that type of hoorah attitude, but it is what it is. Maybe someday. But so that was picked out well in advance, and it was pretty much we picked an area, and we started looking at venues, and I was going with whoever could get me wherever, and it happened to be at the Diesel, and I was very thankful for that. I'm not really picky as far as like the venues are concerned. There's obviously things that I would prefer. Obviously we want to get into like theater size venues and stuff like that as this thing grows, but economically, we weren't too worried last year about, making money. It was just more of a proof of concept. And Luckily for me, I had, most friends that were doing it that were just happy to be there. And they're like, they immediately, the part that made me the most happy last year is everybody came up to me and said, "What's next year?"
Ah, fantastic.
When are we doing this next year? What's going to be next? So, we weren't too concerned from an economic standpoint, but obviously that's always the goal, to build up and be able to. I want to pay everybody. That's that funny meme about you guys are getting paid, like
right. Wait, yeah, right, yeah. No, that's great. So, what were the big takeaways after Amalgamation 1 was done? That we'll see for those who experience both shows. Like, what are you going to tweak? What maybe didn't work as well the first time that you're going to figure out the second time?
Well, the first thing that we figured out was that it worked.
Right.
that was the big one, was like, oh, we can actually do this. There was disorganization. I was my friend Katie Puga, who's also she did last year and is also doing it this year. She was trying as hard as she could to get me to not play drums for my own show, because she's like, somebody needs to run it. You need to get somebody to do it. And I'm like, we're all adults here. You've all played shows before. We got this. They didn't got this. There was one time where I had to like run off the stage to like find somebody and get your ass up here. Like, but from an organizational standpoint, it's definitely going to be a lot better. It's going to run a lot smoother. There were people that were kind of getting a little petered out at the end, unfortunately. And I have a buddy of mine, Nate, who's basically going to be running a small stage crew that's going to, because everybody uses their own stuff. That's the thing, is like with most shows, it's 30 to 45 minutes, you pull all the amps off, and then there's more there, but like the house band stays set up in the back, and there's just a spot where like everybody's amp just, so it's definitely going to run a lot smoother. That's the main one, is just like the operations aspect, which is one of the bonuses of everybody from last year coming back this year, is they know what to expect, and I don't have to necessarily babysit them quite as much,
right?
Because they know they know their dates, they know when they have to be where, and when they have to get all their poop in a group and get it done. So that's the big hope, is that it's a more organized chaos this year.
Right. So, we kind of glossed over it real quickly, but you mentioned that these artists that are collaborating, they're writing a new song. Mm-hmm. Like, it's expected that this is going to be
it's required.
Okay, so it has to be a new song.
It's a song that they are writing specifically for this project, which is the big thing, is like, you may never hear these songs again. Right.
Can you press it and sell it as a disc? I mean, a disc, or put it online for people to make it an album?
Last year we recorded the live show, and I released one single as online, just kind of as a thing. Hey, this is what it was. I can say officially for the first time that there are, to my knowledge, 2 pairs that are planning on releasing studio versions of their songs.
Nice.
Either before or on the day of the show. There's always those tertiary fringe goals that you have, and one of them is to potentially record this as an album at some point. We're still kind of trying to be financially more successful, and I tell all the pairs, I said, you do whatever you want with this with the song, have at it. If you want to record a song, have me play. Don't have me play, I'd be more than happy to. I'm writing all the drum parts, so it might just be easier to have me play, but
Well, that makes the show, in my opinion, a little bit more special because
Absolutely.
these are songs that you're maybe aren't going to capture again. Whereas
Yes.
the Run DMC Aerosmith, it's like, well, you've got
In
the new
perpetuity.
genre taken. Yeah, well, it just, or for, one of my favorite kind of riffs on that is Taylor Swift's 1989. Now, I'm not a big Swiftie, and obviously she exploded even bigger more recently than the
Right.
1989 album. But Ryan Adams redid that album song for song. I don't know if you're familiar with that album,
Yeah.
but it's Ryan with an R, not Bryan Adams for you 80s kids. But Ryan Adams redid 1989 in order, the exact same songs, the exact same lyrics, but completely different orchestrations, right?
I
Completely
may actually
different
like that
interpretations.
album.
It's unbelievable.
I'm not a big Swiftie either.
Right. No.
My
You don't
kids
need
are.
to. I mean, I could play you 3 songs from that album and not tell you that it's a Taylor Swift song, and you'll like it because like her mellower stuff, he rocks out to. And she
Okay.
has like a really fast bumping song, and then he'll turn it down to like Bruce Springsteen's "I'm on Fire."
I like stuff like that.
So it's an interesting take, and I think it's even better if you know the Swift version
Right.
and then hear Ryan Adams. But
I
yeah.
love cover versions of songs like that where somebody takes it, makes it completely different. That's one of the. It's ironic considering the fact that this Amalgamation Project is kind of the response to, in what I feel like is an oversaturation of just cover songs on the radio nowadays. People seem to, try and just do it quickly and easily. And this is kind of, it's like, okay, we'll do all original songs to the point where you may not hear the song again. It's
Right.
so original.
That's awesome. I want to take one more pause and thank my folks at the Forsberg Real Estate Company. When it comes to creating the best living and working environments for the community, no one does it better than my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company. Brent Forsberg and his team create vibrant, holistic communities that inspire growth and encourage belonging. Focused on building stronger connections for people, the Forsberg Project is always in tune with balancing relationships to create the optimum human experience. Since the 1950s, Forsberg has been enhancing the quality of life in the communities they serve by following the principles of regenerative growth and aligning the resources and tools available. Reach out to my friends at the Forsberg Real Estate Company by calling 517-349-9330 or check out their website at lansingrealestate.com. So let's dive into Amalgamation 2. When is it? Where is it going to be?
Amalgamation 2 will be at the Token Lounge in Westland, Michigan on August 17th. Doors are at 7 and the show will start at 8. We got 2 awesome opening bands, a TM Experience, who I just played with, opening up for Stryper
Really? Wow.
at the Diesel, back at the Diesel at the beginning of June of this year. And Letters from Abel will be the other opening band. Justin Abel did the show last year, and I'm really glad to have his original band opening up for this year.
Fantastic. Okay. And ticket prices.
$10. That's the coolest part about this, and something that I fought very hard with last year was this is going to be like a diagonal slice of the local scene, and you get basically a whole cheese plate. Those are charcuterie board. Those are in right now. Charcuterie board of the amalgam of the local scene for $10.
Right.
That's, and period. Day of show, pre-sale, ticket link, it's $10. Period.
And I would imagine it's all just standing room, not seated or.
There are seats. There's a bar. There's tables and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, the more people that show
General
up.
admission.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's all general admission. There's no VIP or anything like that. I'm not that cool yet.
You're on your way, and we
We'll
can
get
say
there.
that we broke the story here. No, I mean that's fantastic, and that's this. I really try to focus on the arts in this. I mean, a lot of this is business. My show, Michigan Reimagined, is overall it's telling great stories about things going on in Michigan that people may not hear about otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cases it has to do with business development and new companies coming in and expansions and that kind of stuff. But we talk about public transportation, and we talk about housing problems, and we talk about the arts, because all these things make our communities cooler to live in and makes Michigan a better place to be. So
Absolutely.
I like to just share the good news. And I think that your determination, I mean, you're super well spoken, you're clearly intelligent. And if for those of you listening, instead of watching this, he's got ink, and I love the live without fear, die without regret on each of his arms, and I think that's a great mantra to live by.
My birthday was recently, and I ended up getting myself 3 new tattoos. One of them is the first 3 letters of the Disney logo above my knee, so I have my Disney.
Got it.
Just got that one.
But that isn't as poignant as live without fear,
Right.
die without regret.
No, that's just my dad joke. That's my dad joke tattoo.
and you're a dad, so that only
Absolutely.
fits. How can people get engaged with either you and your private band and that kind of stuff, and then the Amalgamation Project, buy tickets? Like, what are the socials, websites, that kind of stuff?
There's an eTix link that will be, or Ticket Web. It's one of the two. I can't. I was told not to bring notes, but there's a ticket link that I'm sure will be posted somewhere convenient. There's a Facebook event that has all the information on it as well. There are articles in the Metro Times, the Detroit Free Press, and visitdetroit.com as well. And hopefully people can learn more as things go on, especially with doing a show like this. And yeah.
Happy to help. Amalgamation Project II is coming in August, and we've been speaking with the drummer and show promoter, Bryan Knickerbocker. I really appreciate you coming on the show today and telling your story.
Oh, it was awesome, man. Thank you. This is really cool.
Excellent. And I want to give a final shout out to my loyal sponsors, the Forsberg Real Estate Company we just heard of, about, and Wagner Financial, Triterra Environmental, Good Marketing, the attorneys at Foster Swift, and Keller Williams Advantage and Team. These are all fantastic people worth the call. And if you found this show as a one-off, you can follow and subscribe Michigan Reimagined on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts. This is Chris Buck signing off from Michigan Reimagined.